was actually called at the last minute, so we didn't get to promote this event a lot.
Yeah.
But still, it's going to be a start. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Anand Gupta from EQ Magazine. Pleasure to introduce EQ Magazine as India's first magazine on solar energy. We have been publishing in print and digital since last 12 years. We have also been publishing daily newsletters. We have been organizing conferences, webinars, events, trainings, buyer seller meets, product launches, etc. So all our activities definitely has been with a vision and mission to serve the ever-growing renewable energy sector with our platform, which provides opportunities for knowledge sharing, knowledge gaining, interacting, a platform for people to speak their mind and heart out, interact with like-minded people and businesses to get a platform to connect with each other and grow their trade. So this is a small introduction from my side about EQ. So first ever meet on human resource development, employment opportunities, the importance of HR, the way this sector is growing. So we're proud to host this. I'll just, to set the context, I'll just share a few of my thoughts. This is an extremely important area. This sector is definitely going to be people and talent driven. So how to acquire talent, how to train and groom them in various aspects, be it sales, marketing, research, development, be it manufacturing, be it operations, be it asset management, be it finance, be it HR itself, be, be it like the real hardcore EPC construction. So various aspects are there. Dealing with government, a lot of skill is required there as well. So we thought, this idea actually came to us at the last minute, and we approached all the important players, and we're very, very proud that we got a handful of very, very important key people. So we're going to have a very focused webinar and discussion on human resource development, trainings, talent acquisition, how to attract more and more people to join this sector, because I think that is also very important, because that is for sure that this sector is now for a very stable and a long-term sector. There's no doubt about it anymore. So I'm happy to welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen. I am thankful, first of all, to Dr. Sachin Verma, GM Human Resource from Goldie Solar Private Limited, to agree to join and moderate the session for us. Along with him, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Ranbir Chakrabarti, CHRO from Photum India Private Limited, Mr. Tapas Acharya, Head HR from Renew Power, and Ma'am Gitanjali Malik, Senior GM HR from Azure Power. So before we start, ladies and gentlemen, let us set some basic rules. First of all, I'll request everyone to keep your mics always on mute mode. Only the speakers or the moderator can unmute it at the time when they are speaking. Regarding the video feed, I request all attendees to keep your video feed off at all times, and I request all the speakers to keep your video feed on at all times. Regarding Q&A, networking, so there's a chat box, so make maximum use of the chat box for any Q&A, networking, etc. And I request speakers to pay attention to it, so if there are any relevant questions, you may take up during your speech. So that's all from my side. Now I will hand over to our moderator, Dr. Sachin Verma, to start with. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Anand, and thank you so much, the World HR, because it's an opportunity to grab and take away many things which is happening in the renewable sector. A big thank you to EQ Magazine, because they have created this platform wherein all the HR fraternity people can come down and they can just have the feeler about what exactly is happening in the world called renewable energy, which is the rising industry of India and being the dream project of Make in India under the flagship of Honorable PM Mr. Modi. So being a moderator, it's an opportunity for me to just connect with the wonderful people like Ranbir ji, Gitanjali, and Tapas ji on the board. I believe Tapas ji is in right now, Ashok, right, Anand?
We're expecting him to join any moment now.
Oh, great. Great. So I would take an opportunity to just introduce my co-colleagues, Mr. Ranveer Chakravarti and Gitanjali. Now, Tapas ji would be coming. So yes, I would be starting with Ranveer ji first, being the respected CHRO and from the Indian and global talent process owner from the Fortum India. It's a flagship company of Fortum Finland. He is having good 30 years of experience into the HR and operational fraternity. Mr. Chakravarti has served many good companies like Steel Authority of India, Torrent Power, Tata Power, and now with Fortum India. Mr. Chakravarti possesses a good engineering degree of metallurgy and management degree and diplomas from IIMS, Kozhikode, and XLI Jamshedpur. We welcome you for the session, Mr. Chakravarti. It's delighted to have being on the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Tapas, the other colleague for me for this speaking, Mr. Tapas Chare is a HR practitioner, coach, mentor, and a photographer, and working as a senior vice president human resources for the brand called Renew Power. It's a known brand in the renewable sector, having somewhere around 26 years of experience into the human resources. He served many good companies like Spice Communication, Airtel, Aditya Birla Group, MTN's Communication, now with Renew Power. He holds a LLB degree with the diplomas from XLRI Jamshedpur. Whenever he's there, we welcome Tapas on the board also for the session. We're having a gentle lady with the name of Gitanjali Malik. She is the head of talent development from Azure Power, one of the most renowned name into the renewable development section. Having somewhere around 20 years of very good experience into human resources. She has served many good companies like NIT, Spencer's, Vodafone, now with Azure Power. So she holds a management degree from Symbiosis Pune. So we welcome you for the session, Gitanjali, and there are many things to learn for this complete fraternity of HR from you.
Sure, thank you, Sachin.
Yeah, so in the last, Dr. Sachin Verma for you guys, having 14 years of human resource experience, not only the national one, but the international backgrounds also. I holds a degree in terms of the MBA and the doctorate in human resources from University of Delhi. I have done my CPHR and SHRM from the University of British Columbia and Yukon, Canada. And I am a neuro-linguistic programmer practitioner as well. So I have served many companies and it's been now 4.5 years in the fraternity of renewable sector, starting my journey with VLCC, Shahi Exports, then Vari Energies. Now I'm serving as a head of HR and as a general manager HR for Goldie Solar Private Limited. Now, so this fraternity of human resources is very important as far as the renewable energy is concerned. Now it is no more a department which is working in the silo. You have to be there in the business and you need to understand the business in a proper way so that you would be able to contribute toward the top line, bottom line, and the cash flow processes of the organization. It's very important to understand. Now, being there are various challenges and various logics on which the complete renewable energy is based. It's a very small industry as of now. It's a growing industry and it's on the boom right now. Many of the very good players and the group companies are also coming in renewable sector, and they are contributing in a better way for the country development. I'll start with Ranveer ji being the senior most guy and a very respectful dignity of our industry. Ranveer ji, I have a single question for you, sir. So what do you feel that what type of challenges the HR people or the business is facing right now in the fraternity of renewable energy, sir? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, whereas this webinar is based for renewable energy, I think I have only seen solar in that space, and then I'm not so much of knowledgeable about wind or other form of renewable energy, unfortunately. So whatever I answer will be surrounding around solar space. So I think while we talk of the HR challenges, of course, the HR challenges emerges from the way the business is moving, as you said already. And over a period of time, when 2013-14, this was a kind of a maverick startup kind of a situation. Today, the industry has matured as the as a reward consultant to talk about it, and then we see the first challenge emerging from it. In the sense, we have seen that the skill is being completely bifurcated into two sets. One is at the sites where majority of our people are either diploma holder at the best or ITI, and then you have the concentration of so-called value creators at the corporate offices. And I think this is also the story for many of the renewable energy companies. And then the first HR challenges come is how you balance between the two. So particularly in the reward space, in the development space, how you connect, how you develop the company as a single employer brand, whereas there is complete polarization of skill that has happened. So and then if you see that over a period of time, and now I'm talking of the present, and at present there are a lot of hiving off or merger acquisition is going on in the industry, and many of the time these acquirers or the hiving off is happening to pension funds, and they are buying with a long-term stable cash flow kind of an interest, and so they are very quality conscious. So they are asking questions on the quality of construction, to quality of the whole business model, how robust they are. So till now, this whole industry was thinking of only cost leadership. So all of a sudden, quality has become a competitive parameter. So how you balance between the two? So we have done everything to reduce cost, but now we have another type of investor who do not believe so much of your on the cost. They are talking quality, so that our money is secure. So that brings up a second kind of a mindset challenge for all the people in HR, possibly in the renewable sector. And then talking of the future, I think that industry is very soon moving to a phase where it will be the bundling will be the the key issue. Where when I talk of bundling, then the bundling can happen with the wind energy, as we are already seeing in some of the bids that are coming up, and then also there will be batteries, and very soon in future we will see hydrogen also playing a key role in stabilizing the renewable energy. And then to take the first mover advantage, you need to build those skills and those competencies from today. The question is how you sustain them in the system. So when your existing operations cannot really allow them to, so these futurists to be present, and then the investors might not be willing to pay the premium because you have somebody who is an expert in hydrogen. So how you sustain them in the system is a big question mark. Of course, in other countries, we are seeing that a lot of co-development is happening in this space, like in Germany. But in India, this kind of joint investment in research and development is very rare, and so that creates the third level of challenge. So past, present, and future, everything continues, and three level of challenge for human resources. You need to unmute, Sachin.
Sorry. As you rightly said, sir, yes, absolutely right. And because HR is playing a very challenging role right now as far as the industry is concerned, because it's a very new industry for India. And you would not be getting the plug and play people like that. You have to develop them, because and development is not like that on a one single go you are developing the people. No, you have to just be very patient. You have to have the complete metrics ready. You have to have the complete competency metrics ready, that what type of people you want, so that you would be having the right time and the right fit at the right time, because it is a just in time solar, because many of the competitors are there in the industry. And if you want to be in the race, you have to be very very, on the toes, and you have to understand the market very very well. So the updations, the updated manpower, the developed manpower who understand business, be it the common function or be it the productive function, each and every person has to understand the business of solar. Otherwise that person won't be able to succeed in the renewable sector, because it's a very very fast and a fast moving industry as of now. So thank you so much, sir. Gitanjali, what do you suggest, and what do you, where you see the game of solar in HR, and what type of development and what type of trainings are required in terms of developing the manpower, so that they would be able to effectively demonstrating their power of success in the group fraternity of solar.
Okay, thank you, Sachin. So, when it comes to developing the manpower, typically speaking, any industry, if I talk about, there are two aspects to development of manpower. One is technical aspects, and the other is the behavioral aspects, and that does hold true for the solar industry as well. I think there are two very critical additional aspects that I'd like to add to this mix is the entire safety aspect, and last but very importantly, the entire social aspect. So I would say that, the entire development of this particular industry, these are the four pillars, whether it is technical, of course, that is the bread and butter. So whether it has got to do with how the construction is happening, to the time that how the equipments are being managed and maintained at the sites. So that is, of course, there's a lot of technical work that is going in there. And as a result, of course, there is definitely a requirement of those technical skill building to continuously happen throughout. In addition to that, like Ranveer correctly said, the vast difference between the kind of manpower we have, that on one end of the spectrum, we have pretty experienced people. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have these millennials. And how do we actually get both the generations to gel together? So from that perspective, the entire, what are the kind of culture and values do we want to promote in the organization? Then based upon those culture and values, there has to be your competency framework that has to be derived out of that. And then based upon that is where you try to ascertain that what kind of behavioral work do you want to do in the company, whether it has got to do with at the junior level, or whether it has got to do with the work at the senior level for that matter. So that's the second aspect. Thirdly, in terms of safety, I think the kind of work that is happening in this industry very very typical in terms of safety aspects, because whether it is the construction happening at the site, our sites are located in far off places where the local community people are a lot involved into the kind of work that is happening at the site. And as a company, it is not only our responsibility to take care of our own employees, but also of the employees, the local employees who we hire from time to time in order to get the different kinds of works done at the plant. So now that entire safety aspect of how do we ensure that every part of the organization, of the industry, how are we inculcating safety as a behavior? That is something that is equally important when it comes to this particular industry. And last but not the least, like I said, the fact that, this is both an opportunity and a lacuna for that matter. The fact that, us being located, the sites being located at a very far off location, so that kind of becomes a hassle for people to manage. But at the same time, you get so much local backup and support. You get all kind of labor, all kind of contractual manpower that you require is available right there. But then how is it that we are actually giving back to the society? How is it that we also create practices that are environment friendly? How is it that we are doing waste management at the site for that matter? How is it that we are really helping those CSR initiatives alongside the community within the site? with which we are working so closely. I think so, though that entire bit also has to kind of be, people have to be skilled about that. That's not something that anybody teaches you anywhere. So I think these are the four pillars that are very, very critical to the solar industry in terms of skill development.
Yeah, very rightly said, Gitanjali. Yes. So I should not say that it's in function. It's a habit. So training is a habit which needs to be created in terms of each and every person, and it should be a top-driven approach for the organization, wherein it should be cultivated as a culture in the organization, wherein each and every person is aware about what is happening and what is wrong and what is right for the organization and what is wrong and right for himself as well. Because if you are aware about the training, automatically the quality, the awareness, the functionalities, the safety parameters, the operational angle would come as a top go for you guys. So it will come as a habit. And having said that, there are many of the things, Gitanjali, when it comes to the performance, and performance matters a lot for our renewable sector, because our many of the functions has been derived with the actions of the government. We are completely dependent upon many of the laws and the different sections and regulations being driven by the government, because renewable is the dream project of PM Modi. So many of the things are dependent on the government sector also. Now, being are having a very stiff competitions in the market. What I feel is, and Ranveer sir, please support me in terms of the context, that what do you feel about this also. What I feel is that HR should work on the performance driven culture also, which is the need of the hour. Being training is important, I understand, right? The logics are important, I understand. But if you are having a performance driven culture, wherein each and every person is directly responsible for the top line and the bottom line of the organization, then only that person would be feeling engaged. Now, if you're feeling engaged, it should not be two punch, one lunch, going back home, right? So it should be a very performance driven organization, wherein a person would be having a complete scorecard of, wherein a person would be responsible for the top line, bottom line, cash flows, the processes, and the customers and the people as well. That's would give you a complete feeling about a 360-degree performance, contribution, and the 360-degree development of an individual also. What I feel is, so Ranveer sir, coming back to you, that what do you feel that, yes, how the HR fraternity in the renewable sector should take performance driven culture a serious photo, because it is linked with the training and development also. What do you feel, sir?
I think it is. I mean, I cannot imagine in today's world organization without having a performance-driven culture.
Yeah.
So so there is simply no place for it, and it is true for organization. It is true for individual. It is true for everyone. So there is. I mean, we feel that this is automatic. When you start a company, you want to do something, you set some targets, and then uh, you know achieve it. And then, but then, having said that, I think um, we personally feel that, as Gitanjali has said, that training is very important. I mean, from two aspects, it helps us to communicate the meaning of performance, and
Yeah.
in our in our leadership model, which we call as the open leadership model. So the first step is, of course, we believe that people will deliver. So the second one is want. So we empower them and we create an ecosystem where they can perform. And only then, and I'm underlining this term, only then we expect that they will perform. So what we are trying to say here is that there is a two-thirds of it, the performance comes from leadership. So, what kind of leadership you have. And then only one-third is a team or individual contribution. So we are aware of that. Um, we are at the same time, I mean, now coming back to Fortum as a company. So it is in a sense very feminine. So very failure tolerant, very, kind of, what I should say, uh, allows you to experiment, and once or twice, if you are not reaching up to the speed, that's fine. Uh, as long as the final, particularly in the solar space, as long as the commissioning and happens on date with quality, so everything is fine. I mean, we do not call it non-performance. Of course, for us, when we talk of performance these days, we talk of only output as a performance. For Fortum, I think the how you do the work, and that's where I talked about the open leadership. That's also very important parameter of performance. That's what we call as a performance how. So if you see the Fortune system, we do not have a elaborate scorecard, but definitely we have performance what and performance how. So the means of achieving the end is also equally important for us. So uh, that's how we do it. And today we are the possibly the one of the most competitive companies in Indian space, at least. So and frankly, I do not remember a day when we have been ruthless. I think we cared for our employees, and then the employees have cared for the company.
So yes, coming back to you, Ranveerji, performance-driven culture, what I feel is it should not be a ruthless concept. It should be a very collaborative concept, wherein a person should feel very productive in the end of the day. Number one. Number two, that person, because if the person is coming up with an education or a very good background, right? And if that person is not achieving or not consuming that knowledge up till the fullest, there is no point of just having the engagement in that concept. So the performance driven culture is not only give you the feeler about the responsibility, but it comes with the ownership also. It is a both ways sword, wherein a person would be having a responsibility and belongingness to his concept, and at the same time that person would be giving the best performance to the company. Now performance driven culture would not be coming with like just like that, wherein you are having a scorecard. It should be linked to a reward, recognition, the training maps, the engagement patterns and all that stuff. So engagement pattern does not mean the festivals and all that stuff, no. So engagement patterns wherein you are engaging the people into the business strategical mode of the organization.
I think you missed 2 points. I mean, it also comes with love and care.
Yeah, absolutely.
My father never had any, or my mother never had any scorecard for me, and what they had was transparent communication and affection for
Yeah,
all brothers and sisters. And
absolutely.
not that we have become the best of or nation builders, but at the same time we have not wasted our life. And that's how life is. I mean,
Absolutely.
there will be always millions of people ahead of you, there will be billions behind you. So at any point of time, this is the truth. So we believe in that. We believe that if you believe in people, and if you really trust them, and if you really are affectionate, I'm using deliberately this term, if you are affectionate about your employees,
Hmm.
they will take care of the company. So
Absolutely.
you need not to have any reviews, this is our experience, we may be wrong. And in that sense, we are not a very big company also. Uh, but our experience is you need not to have any reviews, any metrics or anything. Things do happen.
Yes, great, sir. So now, what I in adjourn to this is that you need to delegate in a better way. You need to delegate the responsibilities. You have to make them people owner driven. They should feel connected with the organization, and at the same time, they should be well cared, as you rightly said. Yes, because replacement is not the problem, not the solution for any of the thing. You have to take care and you have to retain them, because these are the people who would be asset for your organization. Great one, sir. Gitanjali, coming back to you is that if we talk about the engagements plans, wherein the engagement, the training and development, and the performance. Now these three come along with it, right? Because it is completely interconnected, and it is at the end of the day, it is a human game wherein you are giving the complete training. So training should link to a return in terms of, be it the behavioral parameters, be it the technical parameters, So what do you think that what will be the loop and a connectivity to be formed by the organization in the renewable sector about the engagements, the retention plans, and the training and development, so-called the performance for the organization? Over to you, Gitanjali.
Sure. Uh, Sachin, the way that I think is that engagement is a larger umbrella. The fact that, performance, yes. So typically speaking, the way that the performance reviews happen in any company for that matter, um, uh, it, let me also touch upon, besides we spoke about performance management a few minutes back. I think there are two aspects to the entire performance management of an individual.
Yeah.
One is, of course, tangible aspects that get measured with the KRAs to understand that how well has a person been able to achieve or not achieve whatever they were assigned to do. The second important aspect is also in terms of how is it that you are able to evaluate the potential of an individual.
Yeah.
And that is something that actually is getting developed in combination with all the engagement, learning, development that you are doing across. Because yes, training will get a person to be either able to achieve what they are expected to do today in terms of the numbers. But like Ranbir very correctly said, it is not only about what, it is also about how. And how so one person may be going from point A to B, and both of them may be taking the same amount of time. But how much effort is one person making versus how much effort Leslie, the other person, is able to do that, that actually gets defined by how able to manage the hurdles between the 2 points. And that is where the entire how journey comes in, wherein we talk about the fact that how well are they able to really navigate the organization, how well are they able to navigate the relationships that they form within the organization, and how can they leverage those relationships better in order to be able to get from that point A to B. So I think performance is a culmination of all of those things, and engagement is a larger umbrella, which is actually impacting both the performance, and it is also kind of learning and development is also something that is impacting it. So that's how I think the three of them are a very very tightly knit closed loop. And all of these three things have to go hand in hand if we have to really have professionals developing out of this industry,
Yeah.
professionals who are not only doing good today, but those professionals who also have the potential to be able to develop into leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that is a long-term aspect that we probably also need to think about.
Yeah, great, Gitanjali. So, covering up the session wherein now the COVID-19 pandemic seasons are going on, then the things like trainings, performance, all these things are very good, and we all are there on the shore to just having all those certain things in the organization. But in the given situation, Gitanjali, what do you think that in the situation wherein many of the organization are laying off the people just because of very less bottom line, no margins, no business, very less productions. Now, what do you think that what will be the role of HR in terms of retaining these type of manpower with no burden on the financial burden on the organizational too? What do you think about this?
So I will try to come back to the same point of engagement. The point is, in order to engage people, in order to be able to, so one is that right from the way that you define the ecosystem in which employees are. So as HR, we play the role of a person who's actually defining the culture and the ecosystem in which the entire population is supposed to be operating in, right? The way that you are defining your right from the where you how you define your policies, how you define the communication forums, how you define what kind of rewards happen across, how does your performance cycle work, what kind of learning interventions that are supposed to happen for people. I think all of these things are a part of the ecosystem that the HR defines. Now, why does a person leave? When you're talking about retention of talent within the organization, beyond a point, people really don't leave for money per se. People would leave organizations because of the fact that they are not getting the job satisfaction that they would want in this particular organization. So, if I have to really get that job satisfaction where I am, that is what we need to focus on, that how is it that we can build those opportunities for people? How is it that we can build those listening posts for people by which we can actually get to understand what is it that is going on in the mind, what is the pulse of the front line. As HR, if we don't understand that, then it becomes an then it gets into a very cycle of people actually leaving and us investing high into hiring new talent. And when you say financial investment, I think the financial investment that a company incurs when one person leaves and a new person is hired is much larger than a financial investment that a company would incur if you are actually doing some level of engagement. And again, engagement is not dependent upon whether or not you are able to get employees to get together into, say, in non-COVID days, we used to like there used to be these offline meetings where you're going on a different location and you're doing team building activities, which have more or less now transpired into these team building activities of chais and coffees happening over a video conference, which I'm sure all of the organizations are investing time into doing. There are other steps that can also be taken in terms of how is it that we are able to build that connect with the people at ground level. So like I said, whether it is trying to create some level of listening posts, whether it is also about the fact that the confidence that you build in the front line is going to be when you are it's going to depend upon how rapidly are you able to respond to them. So once a query has been raised or somebody has raised an issue that they have come across, how is it that you are able to go back to them? In what time duration are you able to go back to them? What kind of answer are you giving to them? All of those things kind of play a role in the impression that an employee is forming about the organization in their mind. So I think these things do not require money investment per se. These things require the investment in terms of the thought process. How is it that we are going to do that?
Uh,
So
uh,
those are a few thoughts.
Great, great, Gitanjali. Thank you so much for that. Coming back to Ranbir ji, Ranbir, sir, I have a question for you. Now the complete era has been changed. The pandemic season of COVID-19 has given us a learning as well in terms of the human resource and the manpower management. I would take it as a positive because many hidden things has been countered as a learning practices for many of the HR professionals because of Corona. Because more than 75 to 80 days at home, and the concept of work from home concept became, some of the industries were discussing with me that yes, we should be having a balance between the outsourced manpower rather than having the on-roll manpower. So what do you suggest, Ranbir ji, what will be the concept of having the off-roll and the on-roll percentage and the balancing in the organization to run the business?
I really do not know. Frankly, I'm saying that I'm also going through the same experiment as everybody else is going. So I do not have any answer, but it seems that both the waves are working simultaneously if you look at the signals in the market. So that there is partially there is a push uh, to work from home for both safety, and some of the time it also comes up for the cost. May not be for asset driven business like renewable energy, but maybe more on a manpower driven business like consultancy or IT services.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there is a huge wish we hear from our employees to very quickly come back to the office, to
Yeah.
go to the coffee corner, to gossip, to kind of discuss what is happening and why HR is bad. So I mean, those things are very rarely done on chats or on the phone. So um, I do not have any answer to how much should be working from home or how much should be in the office. Again, off-roll, on-roll, one thing is getting very clear. There will be going forward, maybe it has happened in some of the countries already. There is nothing called on-roll. There is nothing called a role. So the world of work is possibly going back to the era where it was 200 or 300 years back. So before the industrial revolution, when people were working on their own to create a value. So I see that it's also another question. I mean, these are better discovered through what I should say, trial and error, rather than having a fixed question. So of course, I mean, as I said, that till now we were outsourcing or off roles to save cost, but all of a sudden there are some business drivers which are coming in, which is telling us to focus on quality. And if I cannot maintain as a business, as a corporatized business, quality on my role because of the cost, it's a tall ask that some of my partners or contractors, whatever you call,
Yeah.
they will maintain the quality manpower on their role. So it's an interesting time. I mean, I'm sorry I couldn't answer your question, but
It's okay.
I can only increase the debate.
Yes, yes. So what I feel is, Ranveer ji, that because each and every is just doing a hit and trial in terms of saving the cost and saving the increasing the bottom line of the organization. Because once you understand, so we are all aware about the China concept right now, where the China is going and where the import and export market is going right now. And majorly for many of the raw materials, the renewable sector is dependent upon the China's product, unfortunately. And because now India is gearing up to have all the raw materials from India, and being many of the countries and many of the government people are just emphasizing to have the quality, same quality what exactly China is giving to India as well. But after understanding the raw material issues, after understanding the business issues, companies are trying all their modes and the ways to decrease the expense ratios. So there are two major expenses, three rather major expenses. First is raw materials, second is the manpower, and third is the machine maintenance, right? So raw materials, you exactly have no control because it's completely market driven. Number two is machine. Yes, it is under control, but the third is the major one is the manpower, because it's a human intensive. So many of the upcoming what you call the technical sourcing agencies are very much activated in Indian scenarios now. What giving us the project linked manpower. So now the project linked manpower would be having the bench of 3 months, 90 days, 120 days, depending upon your project age. So you would be they would be giving you the skilled manpower. So what do you think that what is the future of the engineers per se for the world of renewable energy? And being these people are very aggressive, having 3,000 to 4,000 engineers on the board. I would not tell the name, but yes, there is a very known agency from Bangalore who are having the bench of somewhere around 3 to 4,000 engineers on the board, all electrical good engineers, and they are supplying in within the industry in each and every company. So what do you think, sir? What will be the future for the engineers in the fraternity of renewables?
Hmm. I mean, as long as I said, that as long as the sector grows, there will be enough of job. But then, of course, I mean, whether those jobs will be so-called well-paid job, or there will be a devaluation of the jobs, and then also what we call as the decorporatization of the job. So you get a job still, but then you may not be getting in on the so-called roles of the major corporates, but then you go to partners or contractors role. So or you are deployed through third party.
Yeah.
So so per se, if you ask me, I do not think there will be any dearth of job. So only thing is that how much that job will pay and how much that job will really help to fulfill your aspiration. is something which needs to be watched for.
Great, sir. Great, thank you. So, coming back to Gitanjali, what do you feel is that being many of the HR concepts now has been demanded electronically in the organizations. You know, it's an era of electronic everywhere. It's an EHR going forward, and many of the things would be run through EHR electronic mode. Means up till from the hiring till the firing, means the resignation also would be a e-resign concept. So what do you feel that what will be the new era of human resources and renewable sector when it comes to the digitization of HR, and how productive it would be for the renewable sector?
Okay, very interesting concept in terms of digital and technology that all of us are in a we are in a hurry to adopt and become digital. Everywhere you look, everyone is trying to aspire for a better technology, right from the phones in our hand to the TVs at our home. All of us want something which is of latest design and use. Now, if you take a step back and think about it, why is it that one technology is more popular than another technology?
Okay.
The simple reason that is the fact that how is it that how easy is it to use that technology? So any technology, the adoption of a technology is actually on the ease of adoption that comes with that technology. So yes, digital HR systems are in vogue at this point in time. I have personally gotten at least about 5 digital HR systems configured in my career so far, and yes, there are merits and demerits to every kind of digital HR system that is available in the market. I think yes, definitely there is advantage to having a digital HR process because it helps you. One, the biggest help it does is, of course, in terms of reducing the time in which you are able to act on a lot of things. So that is one definite advantage that is there. But in addition to that, I also think that it helps HR function to become more objective. In erstwhile days, HR used to be a very subjective function where we were only good or bad. There were no numbers attached to stating how good or how bad we are.
Yeah.
Now, with the advent of these kind of systems, the information getting real time recorded in these kind of systems, as an HR fraternity, I think we have an opportunity to be able to add more objectivity to the kind of work that we do. As we bring more objectivity to the kind of work that we are doing, our partnership with the business also kind of strengthens. So from all of those perspectives, yes, it is very important for us to have the digital technologies adopted in all spaces, whether it is renewables or other industries as well, for that matter. The only question, or just the very interesting thing that is happening right now is that all these information systems that are getting developed at this point in time, um, it's like a growing phase for that industry as well. You have so many of them that are coming up every day now. And of course, the companies who are adopting it, companies like us, also have a vast range of choice that is available in terms of what kind of system that you want to adopt. So my only point here is that go for a system which actually makes it easy for your employees to adopt.
Great.
If it is easy to adopt, it is something that is going to be sustainable. If it is not easy to adopt, it will be very, very difficult for employees to get accustomed to it and for you to derive the benefit out of it that you really want to do.
Absolutely. Very rightly said, Gitanjali, because in my organization, we are just following the same concept of employee-friendly techniques and the employee-friendly platforms, wherein each and every person should feel integrated to the organization. What exactly we feel and we mean for as a Goldie Solar, and we always strive for the success and the progress of the employee via digital medias, and we are creating that platform wherein the person would be connected not only to the dashboards of the ESS, but the concept of the business, the concept of the logics of the different departmental progressions also, in order to have a complete feeler what's going on in the organization. So it's an open culture what we follow, so that an employee can be educated further in terms of where the goal is going and how that person can contribute towards the success of the company.
Absolutely. I think these kind of systems play a very, very important role. The entire engagement that we spoke about. It is one is of course the ease of the system, and the second very important thing is also that how well are we leveraging the system? Are we thinking about it enough? Are we thinking that what are the forums where we can actually leverage the system? How is it that we can actually engage employees using those systems? What features of that system can actually help in what part of employees life cycle? If those are the kind of things that we start thinking about, I think there is immense use for such kind of systems, especially in any industry which is so widespread. For renewables, for instance, like I said, our projects are located far, far away. Humanly traveling and being everywhere every time becomes very challenging. But if you have some such kind of common forums that are available, I think that helps bring the employees together. So that also is something of a value add that these things do.
Great, Gitanjali. So what I believe that on a common consensus between me, you, and Ranveer sir, what we feel is that yes, HR has to be very much engaged in the business. Number one. Number two is we need to create a performance-driven culture with love and in fact affection as well. It should not be only numbers and numbers. What has been emphasized by Ranveer sir in his in the conversation. And what I feel is yes, the need of the hour is the training and development is very important, wherein the many of the companies are not focusing on training as such, which they should be, and to create the very good pool of talent within the organization rather than going for the replacements. So thank you so much, Ranveer sir, for your time and efforts. Thank you so much, Gitanjali, for your wonderful speech, and thank you so much, audience, for contributing towards this session. Over to Anand and Rikesh now.
Just a second, sir. I'm just calling answer.
Yep.
So good. I mean, in a sense, I think that there is a, I read the time a little bit differently. So thanks for this opportunity and thanks for very nice discussion. I need to leave now because another meeting has already started and colleagues are waiting. And my apologies for misreading the time. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sachin, Mr. Ranveer, Gitanjali Malik. Thank you. Was very interesting, and this really marked the kind of a first event in the importance of human resource in this ever-growing and important sector. So, and I hope for the audience also it was quite interesting. As I can see, it's good participation at the last minute. So we're sure that we're gonna do more such stuff. Focusing on the importance of human resource. From my side, thank you very much to all speakers, attendees, audiences, everyone. And I request you all to be safe, take good care of yourself, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much, Anand. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin. Thanks, Anand, for the opportunity. And we hope to stay connected. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
We have to stay connected, and I'm really glad.
We would be waiting for the many more sessions, and let's contribute towards the growth of the renewable energy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anand.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
एप्लीकेशन लेटर ना एप्लीकेशन लिख दो कभी